My father, rest in peace, was very fond of telling me that it was what you learned after you knew it all that counted. Well, my father was right. And that's why I am here to tell you about Hungry Horse Poker. Before I do that, let me be very clear. I am being given something of value in return for doing this. However, I was not told what to say. I was not told that it had to be positive, and indeed, I was expressly told that even if it was negative, I would still get the coaching that I was offered. It says something about what I think of Hungry Horse that given a choice between cash and coaching, I chose the coaching. I think it's more valuable. With that said, let me tell you why. Now, to do that, I want to do three things. First, I want to talk about where I came from as a poker player. The second thing I want to talk about what the actual training looks like. And then after that, I want to talk about the after effects of the training and what I do now in order to continue to improve. So first, like you, I went through all the studying you would think of. I did upswing poker. I did solve for why. I did red chip poker. I did School of Cards. I used GTO Wizard. And here's the thing that needs to be very clear. All of those are useful. All of those worked. I have been a profitable poker player for quite some time. But, probably like you, I wasn't particularly satisfied with my thought process. I didn't feel like my thought process would hold up to a great deal of pressure. As such, I chose to do Hungry Horse Poker because their stuff on, at the time, Twitter, now X, was all about the thought process. And that's what I'm interested in. If you're going to get better, that's how you get better, by developing your thought process. And they were willing to work on that. So I went ahead and I signed up for the month-long boot camp. One of the things you need to know about that boot camp is that it claims to be an hour a day. It's not. It's more than that. When you're done, you will want to review. One of the things about this boot camp that I very much like is that, unlike some stuff that I've seen, it doesn't just give you answers. It gives you a rationale. And it gives you deviations that are appropriate depending upon your situation. That's immensely valuable, because understanding why you're doing what you're doing will help you change your game for the better. Just doing the actions will help your win rate, but won't help you in the long term. Hungry Horse focuses heavily on understanding what we're doing and why we're doing it. It forces us to understand what happens at a poker table. That's why I chose Hungry Horse. Now let's talk about how it does it. If you went to law school or know anyone who went to law school, you are probably familiar with the Socratic method. In the Socratic method, one person is chosen from the group by the coach to answer a series of questions to walk your way, in this case, all the way through a hand. What the Socratic method allows is for the coaches to give one-on-one training in a group setting. In other words, I will hear what other people say. I will consider if that is my answer as well or not. And if not, I will understand the differences, and then I'll hear the coach's feedback. Sometimes it will be what I was thinking. Sometimes it won't be. Sometimes I'll learn that I was wrong too in how I was approaching a spot, or at least not thinking as well as I should have, by listening to the coaches correct someone else. It also allows the coaches to give individualized feedback. You see, my holes, my leaks are going to be different than your holes or your leaks. That is true no matter who you or I are as people or as players. By allowing one-on-one feedback with a coach while still in a group setting, everybody else gets the feedback as well, so they know what they need, but they can hone in on your issues, and they do. There was this moment on day, I think it was 20. I was the person being asked questions, and about 8 or 9 questions in, I realized that I had not completely understood the first or second, I forget which lesson, and why we were doing it. And once I understood that, everything became easier because they could focus on my own leaks while at the same time training everybody else. It's amazingly valuable and frankly a whole lot of fun. I always left the class happy because I love this game. If you're thinking about doing Hungry Horse, you love this game too. So that's what goes on. Well, what happens afterwards? First, my game is different. As I mentioned, I was successful playing, but I was successful up to the 2-5 level. Now, I live in Washington, D.C. At the local casino, the MGM Grand National Harbor in Oxon Hill, Maryland. They offer 2-5 and 5-10 are the top two games that regularly go on as public games. I could play 2-5 and beat it, but moving to 5-10 was difficult because the players are better. It is the biggest game in the room, so the best players gravitate to it. And I didn't understand how to figure out what they were doing and why until Hungry Horse worked with me to understand the differences in what they were doing. Moreover, at the same time, I became much more profitable at 2-5. I went from a win rate of 8 to 10 big blinds per hour to closer to 14 to 16. That's a lot of money. Now, if you do the math on that, call it a 5 big blind per hour increase over 20 hours a week is 100 big blinds a week or $500. That's a lot of money. And no, it is not always consistent. There are downswings, but that's my number, including the downswings. So that's the second thing that happens is you simply become a more profitable poker player. And then there's the after that nobody talks about. Like every school or poker group, we have a Discord server. Within that, we have formed, and this was mostly done by the students, not by the coaches, we have formed study groups. My study group is the most valuable group of players I know in terms of feedback. Because they know my game. They know my leaks. They're always on me about my own leaks. Of course you would do this because you also do that other thing that you really ought not to do. They help me stay honest with myself, and they help retain what we refer to as a MICOM list, MIKOM. It stands for mistakes I keep on making. You see, it's not just knowing what you need to do, it's actually performing that matters. I went from a profitable player to a more profitable player, a player who was limited in stakes to a player who can move up in stakes. And I have a group working with me to make sure that I keep studying, that I keep drilling, that I am there for our get-togethers 2 or 3 times a week to drill and talk and expand our games. It's amazingly valuable. When I say that it's valuable, that means it's valuable for me. Is this going to be valuable for you? Let me give one big caveat. If you are not a break-even or profitable player right now, Hungry Horse isn't the place to start. You need other training. You need to work on your fundamentals. Make sure your ranges are tight and well configured. Make sure that your thought process and knowing when to bluff catch and when not to, and knowing when to bluff yourself is already at least a positive level, a level that will make you money. Because if not, and you start adding in all of the stuff I learned in Hungry Horse about how to play aggressively with controlled aggression and use your understanding of their range to figure out what happens with various activities, all of that will just be too much and leave you spewing money all over the table. And nobody wants to spew chips. So if you are not currently at least break even, if not profitable, I would say that Hungry Horse is a future thing for you. You have other work to do first. The second thing I will say about Hungry Horse is it's a commitment. The training is recorded, but you don't get the Socratic method, the back and forth, if you watch the recording. So if your job won't allow you to meet when the class is meeting, if your other work gets in the way, or family commitments get in the way, this isn't the class for you. It's 28 days, but it's a lot of time, those 28 days, so you better have that time. With that said, if you are a profitable player and if you have the time to commit. Nothing taught me how to think about my opponent's ranges and how they will react to my actions the way that Hungry Horse did. I am still active on the Discord server. I still get involved in discussing hands, and I still have my study group. It is the single most valuable bit of poker training I've ever done, and as I say, I've done a lot of it. I know you think that it costs a lot. I am telling you now, it costs nothing. Translate it to buy-ins. If you are currently playing 2-5 or 5-5 with $1,000 buy-in cap or a $1,500 buy-in cap or whatever you're playing, that money just isn't a lot of buy-in, and it will make you buy-in after buy-in after buy-in. So if you're a winning player and you have the time to devote, come join us in Hungry Horse. I look forward to talking to you in the Discord server.